So what is money and how does it get value? Paper money has value because someone says so. Bitcoin is different. It's like digital gold. It has value for many of the reasons gold does, but that's only the start. It has a limited supply, only 21 million, so no one can decide to just print more. Because no central authority controls it, it can never be shut down. And unlike with banks and credit card companies, you don't need approval to use it. It puts the power back in all our hands. Bitcoin lets you control your finances. Kraken lets you buy Bitcoin.
Nayib Bukele, El Salvador. Javier Milei, Argentina. Who is going to be the next Bitcoiner president? And what unique country could they revolutionize? Let's mine deep. Central and South America are quickly becoming the world's most Bitcoin-friendly places. But on the Far East Coast, beneath Venezuela, lie three unique countries. The only ones in South America where Spanish or Portuguese aren't the official languages: Guyana, French Guiana, and Suriname. And it's Suriname that now has a serious contender for president, one who's promising to make Bitcoin legal tender from day one. Suriname is fascinating. With fewer than 600,000 people, this primarily Dutch-speaking country leans heavily on its natural resources, gold and oil, which bankroll most of its GDP. With 90% of Suriname covered in dense rainforest, nearly everyone clusters in the capital, Paramaribo. And for such a small country, there's a surprising blend of cultures from Dutch to African, Indian, Javanese, and indigenous communities. It's also one of the only countries that you will see a mosque right next to a synagogue. Suriname's economic history, however, has been much less harmonious. In 2020, as Suriname battled a growing debt crisis, the central bank enacted a significant devaluation, followed by another in 2021 to stabilize foreign reserves. Their currency, the Suriname dollar, has lost nearly 90% of its value over 5 years. Then came the scandal. In 2021, governors from Suriname's central bank were accused of misappropriating over 100 million in public funds. And where did the money all go? Into a tangled web of poorly tracked loans and questionable government projects, with rumors swirling that some of it was even used to cover lavish spending sprees and political favors. That level of money laundering would even make Walter White jealous.
How much is enough?
With prices of food and fuel skyrocketing and wages barely keeping pace, Surinamese families were left to foot the bill for a financial disaster they had no control over. So why should you care? Because now, when central banks shit the bed, there's never a Bitcoiner too far away to clean the house. Enter Maya Parbhoe. In 2024, she announced her candidacy for president of Suriname, coming from leading multiple technology startups as CFO and CEO. But her life has been shaped with loss and resilience. From her father's murder, after exposing corruption, Maya's drive to root out the same corruption that stole from her family has fueled her mission to transform Suriname's economy. Corruption is deeply embedded at every level of Surinamese government, and powerful opponents won't take kindly to her plans of privatizing industries and putting the nation's currency on a Bitcoin standard. If Maya succeeds, she won't just change Suriname. She'll set a precedent for how other nations might resist corrupt financial systems through Bitcoin. It's an audacious plan with no guarantees, but for a nation in survival mode, it might be exactly what's needed. Don't miss Maya Parbhoe Backstage.
So what specific problems do you think Bitcoin can help solve in Suriname, especially with corruption and survival mode?
Well, in the first place, I think Bitcoin gives people hope because you transition from, that mentality of scarcity to a mentality of abundance, and having that low time preference because your savings are increasing in value over time. And we have a local currency, the Surinamese dollar, which is very inflated at the moment. It's, we're dealing with massive inflation over the last couple of years. Not as bad as some other countries in the world, but it is one of the worst in the world. And I think Bitcoin fixes that problem inherently. But the core of the issue is corruption. And we need radical transparency. And that is something that Bitcoin just immediately solves once you adopt it as the unit of account. Once government spending is completely trackable because it's all in Bitcoin, the people can immediately see where funds are going, how they're being spent. And we want to really decentralize government, make it more efficient.
So El Salvador, that made it a legal tender, they took around like 2 years to reveal like where the funds were going. And how would you guys do that approach differently?
So we actually, once elected or once the elections end and government is installed, then we can actually immediately adopt Bitcoin as legal tender, because that's just a resolution that has to be done by the Foreign Exchange Commission. But basically, we want to transition from the SRD to Bitcoin as the unit of account within a year. And because the country is so small, the population is so small, that would basically mean that we get rid of the Surinamese dollar as our local currency and start incorporating as sats. So sats will be our unit of account. That will be what people earn a salary in. That is what government employees will earn a salary in. That is what government will be spending in. So that will immediately change the way that we actually handle and deal with money. So that transparency will be immediate. It's not something that you can, that we'll have to just disclose because it's a part of our reserve strategy. We don't want it to just be a part of our reserve strategy. We actually want to implement it as a unit of account. So we'll have the first population that's actually living on a Bitcoin standard and seeing their salary increase in terms of fiat value of other currency. That way, we also disintermediate the dependency on other countries, their central banks. So we won't be dependent on, a basket of currencies, of the euro, of the US dollar, or other countries. Other countries, their central bank won't be determining what the value of our money is. It'll be just based on math, right? So we believe that, and I truly believe that this will be a world's first to actually show the world what it means to separate money from state and to not have that be a factor that is controlled by government anymore.
How would you educate the people, and how would that work? Would everything be priced in sats? And how would you explain to them the volatility of Bitcoin?
One sat is one sat. So if you're earning in sats, your salary will be the same in sats every month. The prices in the supermarket will be the same in sats every month. If you are an import company or a distributor or a wholesaler or supermarket, for example, and you're importing goods, your pricing for purchasing those goods over time, it will be cheaper constantly to purchase products than it is in what you're earning, because you'll be earning in sats. And the long-term strategy specifically is, I'm an avid believer in nuclear, so renewable energy sources. We have a large potential for hydro capacity, about 900 megawatts. So we can immediately convert energy into Bitcoin and add that to the sovereign wealth fund. Combine that with 2.8 billion in oil royalties that we'll be receiving starting in 2028. We can have the sovereign wealth fund be denominated in Bitcoin and be one of the first countries in the world where you're actually living completely on a Bitcoin standard.